So Superman was awesome, life-changing even, but more importantly, it started the new DC universe. But where's it gonna go from here? What's the end game? No, Marvel, this is not about you. Well, James Gunn himself has said that the DCU is building up towards an event that will become clear in Peacemaker Season 2. But he's also said it's not what anyone thinks. So I'm gonna explain all the events it could be and what I think it most likely is gonna be. But how far in the future do we think this mysterious event is going to be? Well, if you don't know, DC is doing chapters. The first one being called Gods and Monsters. And Gunn has said that he has an 8 to 10 year plan, spanning 2 chapters for the DCU that ends with the conclusion to the basic story, but not the universe itself. I personally think chapter 1 will mostly focus on introducing the heroes and teaming them up with each other. And with this new stuff getting announced constantly, like the new Wonder Woman movie and the unknown Superman focused movie James Gunn is writing, I think chapter 1 is still super up in the air. No pun intended. So, chapter 2. Who knows what that chapter will be called? But I think this is where we're gonna have our big event. Who's gonna bring us there?
Like when I think of Guardians and how it ended up being Rocket's story.
Yeah, I think I do know whose story it is, and it probably isn't anyone would ever expect.
Is it someone we've seen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So one character that we've been introduced to already is gonna be a through line for the DCU, huh? So who do I think it's gonna be? So, with the first pick in the DC Universe draft, I select Peacemaker, Rick Flag, Supergirl, Ultraman, and Maxwell Lord. Thank you so much. But why, Ava, do you think these people could possibly bring the DCU into its big new event or lead the arc or whatever? Well, let me explain. Let's start off with maybe the most famous event in DC history. Crisis on Infinite Earths was originally a comic run in the 80s meant to fix/reset all the messy DC timelines and universe so that readers would be less confused. Spoilers for like a 4-year-old comic head if you care about that stuff. Anyway, so Crisis is very multiversal. I mean, its whole deal is that universes are being destroyed and heroes from different Earths are coming together, and it all ends with the surviving universes being merged into one. And Crisis has had tons of adaptations. Did any of y'all watch the CW shows? Is Flash ringing a bell? No? No? Well, they had their own version of it there.
About Barry Allen.
But how do my draftees fit into this? Well, first of all, Supergirl dies, saving Superman, therefore kind of saving the whole multiverse. So I can see a world where she has some kind of like redemption arc. Not that she's evil or anything, but we know from Superman and the Woman of Tomorrow comic that she hasn't really had the best time coping with all the Krypton stuff. Plus the Superman movie introducing the idea of Krypton not being the best place. The harem stuff. So the idea of the always drunk last daughter of Krypton becoming the freaking hero of the multiverse. I can see that happening in a world where Crisis is adapted. And for another one of my picks, my boy Ultraman. His backstory in the comics is that he's essentially an evil version of Krypton, of Superman from Earth 3 that goes on to form the Crime Syndicate, which is essentially like the evil version of the Justice League, blah blah blah. But from the movie, we know his origin is different. He was created by Lex Luthor and ends up falling into a black hole, part of the pocket universe thing, which could be the DCU's version of the Bleed, the space between Earths from the Crisis lore. And we all know the movie rule: if you don't see a body, it's not really confirmed that the character's dead. So I could see a world where he does end up doing all his Crime Syndicate stuff because he didn't actually die in Superman, which could lead to the multiversal war of Crisis on Infinite Earths. But is that the world we're living in? A world where Crisis on Infinite Earths is what we're building up to?
It's not what anyone thinks.
The most famous event in DC history. No, probably not. At least not right now. Again, Crisis is very multiversal, and I think DC would want to shy away from that stuff right now.
You need to leave!
I mean, Gunn has said that he'd be open to multiverse stuff, but for the most part, he's going to focus on the main world. I think, of course, it's possible we could see the story or some variation of the story in the way distant future, but I don't see us getting like a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie to be our big event. I'm going to say the board's big event so much in this video. So, Kingdom Come is a comic series from 1996. It takes place way in the distant future where all the heroes are old and retired, and the new heroes are much more violent than their predecessors. A lot of people do think this is where the DCU could be headed because James Gunn did share a picture of it, but he's obviously just using that as like a meme, right? Like, he's just like saying that he's cooking or whatever. Like, I don't know about this one, guys. It takes place so far in the future, and I'm not sure there would be enough time to build up all the heroes we see in it. For example, Shazam is a big part of it. So I'm gonna say, probably not. At least not this version of it. unless they were to change the time gap. And if you have to change that much, I don't know, I just don't see it happening. So, as I mentioned before, in the Crisis section, Earth 3 is a variation of Earth, pretty much an evil version of Earth. And unlike the previous stuff I mentioned, I think there is a probable chance we could see this in the DCU. But why do you think that, Ava? Well, let me reintroduce you to my draftees and why this theory works with them, and why each one of them could be the chosen one. Again, Ultraman, he's kind of the Earth 3 main guy in the comics. I can definitely see a world where Argus discovers the pocket universe that Lex created, and Peacemaker and or Rick Flag get involved in some way, leading to an invasion or whatnot. And also the fact that Rick Flag has been a part of every DCU project so far, and the way the camera lingered on him at the end of Superman. And who else was revealed at the end of Superman? Maxwell Lord, of course, who's confirmed to be in Peacemaker Season 2. And what else do we know about Peacemaker Season 2?
You know, the next season of Peacemaker, they'll see where a lot of these things are going.
Oh, she's taking it.
So really, we have no idea what it could be. It could be any of these options, or none of them, or all of them. It's anyone's guess how direct or indirect Gunn would be if he chooses to adapt any of these comics I mentioned, or any I didn't mention. Like, for example, we took example from All-Star Superman, but not for any of the plot, just like in the overall vibe and characters. But for next year's Supergirl, it's gonna be a pretty direct adaptation of the Woman of Tomorrow comic. So, I don't know. Also read these, they're both really good. So yeah, it's possible that the big event could be based off one of these specific stories, but I think it's probably going to be an original story, taking bits and pieces from different comics. As for my draft picks, I don't think it's likely to be Supergirl, unless they're doing the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, which I'm not really convinced that they're going to. As for Ultraman, I do think there's a good chance he could come back and end up being important in some way, especially if we do end up seeing some variation of Earth 3 in the future. But as for the through line character in the DCU, okay, I'm gonna cheat and be kind of broad and say it's gonna be any of the Peacemaker characters that I mentioned. Peacemaker, the show, was kind of the start of the DCU. I mean, a lot of things could kind of count as the start of the DCU. And you know, as previously mentioned a few times, Peacemaker Season 2 is going to tell us what's going on. So I'm going to assume that those characters and the technology and whatnot that has been and will be introduced in that show are going to lay a framework for the future of the DCU. Again, only time will tell where this universe is going. But also, quick PSA, let's not forget to enjoy the stories for what they are and not just what they're leading up to. It's super fun to theorize and get hyped over cameos and what's next. Trust me, I spent a lot of time doing that for this video. But also, we've got to learn from the MCU. Cameos shouldn't be the only reason that something's good. We're at the very, very beginning of this new universe. We haven't really seen anything yet. So I'm just saying to kind of enjoy the present. You know, I'm sure we got peak on peak on peak incoming, so do you agree with my takes? Do you have any other ones? Who do you think the through line character is gonna be? Who would you draft in your fake NFL DCU draft? Leave it in the comments below. Anyway, that's really all I have for this video. I'm gonna try to be doing at least one video a month, at least for this last school year. Anyway, if you want more DC, I have like a Supergirl breakdown video I think is gonna be here. But anyways, yeah, I'm not very good at self-promotion, so thank you for watching. Subscribe.